One of the things that's very important when you're working on characters or anything with another person or a group of people or even a company is that you have to make sure that every single person is on the same page when it comes to color. So I'm going to show you how you can create a swatch and also how to create a swatch group that you can share with other people and you can even open inside of other Illustrator documents. Let me give you a quick example. This is the helmet of one of my characters called Falcon Shadow. All right, he's like a detective, and he's got this really cool helmet, and this was done in Illustrator, 100%. Now, if I were working with my friend George, and I wanted him to work on some pages for a comic book, it's important that the character that he colors on his end use the same palette that I've created. Because if his version has a green helmet or a red visor here, then we're not on the same page. This is extremely important, especially when you work for clients. I did work for Disney at one time. I did some books, and they gave me Pantone books. They gave me style guides that had the exact color swatches I had to use to create books. So what I'm going to do is show you how to create your own colors based on artwork that you already have open or just colors you like. So I'm going to move this over, and I'm going to grab my swatches panel. And something else that's really helpful is also to have the color panel open as well. So with these two guys here, I'm going to dock them together. And what I want to do, actually let me just try that again. Here we go. So what I want to do here is I want to create one of these down here. See these folders? These are called color groups. And I can create one called Falcon Shadow and send it to my friend George. So let's talk about the most basic way to create a swatch. The easiest way. Let's say I just grab these sliders here in the color panel. I grab this little swatch here literally by clicking on it and dragging it right on down here and let go of the mouse. I've just created a brand new swatch. And the colors here that we see in these numbers in this tooltip match what we see up here. So sometimes clients will give you values like these that you have to punch in to get the colors they want. If I want to get rid of this swatch, simply click the garbage can and you can delete it. So now that we see the easy way to create a swatch, let's create a new folder here. In the swatches panel, I'll go over here to the right, and I'm going to choose New Color Group. And then I can name it what I want to. So we'll call it Falcon Shadow. I will hit OK. And when I hover my mouse over this, it should say Falcon Shadow. And yes, it does. So how am I going to get colors in here that match this guy? Well, that's where the eyedropper tool comes in handy. So I'm going to click one time on my eyedropper, and then I can click somewhere like in this part of his costume, and I can drag this swatch right here from the color into my folder. And there it is. With the eyedropper still selected, I can click on the lighter part and drag that right on in. I'll go to the eye, and I can continue to build this set here, making sure that everybody that works on my character uses the same colors that I'm using. Because as I said before, it's pretty important to make sure everyone's on the same page. If you're working on Mickey Mouse, your Mickey Mouse shouldn't be green, and Disney's Mickey Mouse is not green. Walt wouldn't like that. So now that we have this set here, well, how do we give these guys better description? How do we give these guys names so that we can say, okay, what this color is, instead of just hovering it and trying to guess where it goes? Well, what we can do is we can double click, and I think the panel may have gone off on the side of my screen, so let me go ahead and just resize my screen real fast and drag that panel where it belongs, and I will go back. There we go. And I can rename it right here in my swatch options. Don't forget, guys, I record at a smaller resolution than my normal screen, so I have to sometimes resize and then grab things and move it over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this dark blue, mask, and then I'll simply say OK. I could double click on the eyes and I say eye glow. And I can go ahead and double click here and say gray highlight or mask gray highlight. And so on. So when I hover my mouse over it, I should get the name. Now an even easier way to work is to grab the options here and go to something like a small list view. And as you can see here, here's the Falcon Shadow folder, and here are the colors that we just gave names to. So when somebody is working on, let's say they're working on the character, right? This is not the character, of course, because we have some shapes here. They can easily click on these colors and fill them in with the appropriate colors. So how do we save these? Well, I can click on my Falcon Shadow folder, and I can go over here to the options again, and I can save this swatch library as Adobe Illustrator, and I can name it Falcon Shadow, and I can put it in my swatches, and I can also email this file to my friend George. Then all he'd have to do on his end is simply go back to this options and go to Open Swatch Library, and then he'd be able to go to Other Library down here in the bottom and then load that Falcon Shadow file. He could put it wherever he wants to. It could be on his desktop or whatever, and he'll be able to open that library, and it will appear in its own palette, and he'll be able to see the Falcon Shadow folder right within it. And that is how you can create your own swatches and swatch groups.